Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I'll bring to you, hopefully, a bit of an eye opener. The people over at Games Workshop Warhammer Community decided randomly to update some core rules for the game, which is always a welcome change. Um, when it comes out of nowhere, that's pretty funny. So they touched up on some things that got my brain a little bit of scheming. And I also had some things that I was already debating about making a video on. So I'm going to roll all of that into here. So if you're first here for pretty much the things that happen in core rule changes and you haven't already watched like everybody else, here's some of my thoughts, I guess. And then I'll go on to talk about quote unquote meta things, but it's just let's think about some things. So, kicking it off, there's this thing that happened with scouts. And they have added the lines that now there was some things that got blocked with the previous wording of scouts, so they wanted to clarify you can fucking do scouts. So let's start at the top of this because I mean punctuation hell to it, right? They just gonna add 17 commas and call it a sentence. Either way, some units have Scouts X listed in their abilities. If every model in a unit has this ability, then at the start of the first battle round before the first turn begins, you can make a normal move of up to X with the exception that while making that move, the distance moved by each model in that unit can be greater than the model's move characteristic as long as it is not greater than X. So, one of the things that I noticed, and quite a few people noticed, is that Gretchen, you couldn't do the full scout move that Zodgrod would give them. He would give them Scouts 9, but all of them have movement 6. So that made no sense technically because previously you could only go up to the max of your movement. But obviously they put that there for a reason, right? So you would think rules as intended, you would be able to go 9 inches, but that got ruled other ways in places. So they just made it so that you don't have that anymore. You got the fucking ability, do the fucking ability. The other thing about this is that dedicated transport models can make use of any Scout's X ability listed in their abilities, or a Scout's X ability that a unit that starts the battle embarked within that dedicated transport model has yada 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 yada. TLDR, you can scout your dedicated transport however the fuck you get scout. If you put them in there, they can do it. So, this is going to be something again. I should preface all the things I want to open your eyes to today aren't necessarily better than what is already there, but I think it's funny you can do it now. That's all I'm trying to say. So we already had Zodgrot, and if we go over to Dreadmob, right? If we go over to Dreadmob, you have the ability to give Gretchen the battle line keyword. I think it'd be one really fucking funny if you just flooded the field with Gretchen in trucks. I think that'd be funny. Now, mind you, only one of them can scout because Zodgrod is an epic hero. But if you put Zodgrod scouting out 9 and then disembarking, stringing out a unit of 20 Gretchen, and they're tougher to kill because Zodgrod's in the unit, yeah, I think that's good board control. Now, do I think that Dreadmob should rely on deploy the Gretchen? Oh no, but that one person did it with a Stompa, if I remember correctly, so fuck it. But the other thing that I really thought was hilarious that you could now definitely do, and again, not to say that it's good, but you can do it. If we go over to Cult of Speed, right? If we just go down here, for speediest freaks, you can make one speed freaks or truck unit from your army that was selected as a unit of one or more attacking. units, attacks, yada da da da. Till the end of the phase, models in your unit have a 5-up invuln. If your unit is a vehicle unit with an unmodified toughness characteristic of 8 or less, until the end of the phase, models in your unit have the 4-up invulnerable save instead. So what happens here is you can make a truck, a 4-up invuln save with 20 20 Gretchen and Zodgrod that scout at 9. I don't know how good that is. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I don't think it's going to be that great because you are still in Cult of Speed. But honestly, I think there's a semblance of hope for Cult of Speed. That one might be pure copium. I'm not going to lie, but I don't know. You have access to both lethal or sustained if you need it, and then like crits on 5s with the units. The units are the problem there, but and had one to wound for a speed freaks unit. I don't know if you can make the buggies and the speed freaks and whatnot better, the coptas. Uh, there's some things there, but just out the thing that I thought was funny that you can now do is you can Zodgrod scout a truck and then disembark for extra distance 20 fucking Gretchen that are what -1 to wound. Let me make sure I got that correct. Yeah, each time an attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the wound roll. And each time a model in that unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit and 1 to the wound roll. You could just beat somebody's ass, like 1 unit, okay? But you could like just beat 1 unit's ass over the head with 20 fucking Gretchen that have already scouted a bajillion miles away. So I don't know if you're playing Cult of Speed for the extra 4-up invuln on that one, sure. Or if you're playing Dread Mob to just deploy the Grotch and then have a stomp in the back or something, also sure. But now there's no way, nobody should be saying you can't do that because now it's just there in clean writing, you can do that. The other funny thing that you can do that I don't know if it's the best thing, but this was another thing that caught up a lot of people with some tournament rulings that got cleared up in an FAQ. If a stratagem targets both 1 or more units from my army and 1 or more units from my opponent's army, can I use my ability to modify that stratagem CP cost? Now, when I last made a video like this talking about the new things you can do with some of these changes, somebody did say that something like Adrenal Surge and Tyrannage should work now. You should be able to use Will of the Hive Mind to reduce that cost. And I thought so as well, but there seemed to still be some debate on that they also clarified here. That covers into this part. If a stratagem targets 2 or more units from my army, can I use an ability to modify that stratagem CP cost? Yes. So both of those basically say, fuck the amount of targets, go ahead and do it for Will of the Hive Mind, pretty much. So, going over to that, here's one that everybody wanted to work from the rip. That now, undeniably you can, and it also has no line of sight or range requirement, so Vanguard just got a bit better. It's already been the one that people are leaning towards, but, it got a little bit even better with the Winged Hive Tyrant. With Surprise Assault, you can target 1 Vanguard unit from your army that has not been selected as a shooter fight this phase, and 1 enemy unit. That enemy unit must take a Battle Shock test. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll. If the Battle Shock test was failed, add 1 to the wound roll as well. So basically this is saying you don't even need to worry about your Neurolictor too much. If he blew his load, hey, what's the time that they're going to make a second Battle Shock test? And if you weren't already trying to do the build with a Screamer Killer inside of Vanguard Onslaught. But I'll take a moment to say my feelings on Vanguard Onslaught and Battle Shock as a whole here, I guess. As far as Tyrannage, to that extent. people seem to really want Synaptic Nexus to be the Battle Shock detachment because you have the enhancement to subtract one from the leadership characteristic, and with people around 9 of you, and you can use this when it happens. But I feel that this is actually the worst attachment to try to make use of that strategy, if I'm being quite frank with you. Sure, you can make certain enemies another -1 to the test, but when you look over at something like Crusher Stampede at Savage Roar, you can just make people take the fucking test. And you get an effect from it regardless if they pass or fail. If they pass it, you're still -1 to hit in that fight phase. And if they fail it, you're -1 to wound as well. And then if you go back to Vanguard Onslaught, you can definitely get the +1 to hit and possibly +1 to wound at the fact that, oh no, they didn't have to take the -1 from Dirt Chart within 9 inches. Like, sure, if you have great placement, you can try to make it happen, but nothing in Synaptic Nexus gives you a way of making that test happen, right? Like, you still have to put in a Neurolictor, a Screamer Killer, Death Leaper to even make the test trigger, outside of Shadow of the Warp, of course. Um, Shadow and the Warp, of course. But, I feel if you're going for battle shocking strategies, that's why people go, why would you put a Screamer Kill in Vanguard? Because it's the only one where you have a chance of just making 4 battle shocks happen realistically. Death Leaper, Neurolictor, Screamer Killer, and Surprise Assault. Like, realistically, that's 4 tests that somebody has to pass. And now that you can clearly do it at 0 CP because of Will of the Hive Mind, reducing that cost. And we'll go to Wing Hive Tyrant because this is the one that you're probably going to put first into Vanguard. Will of the Hive Mind, 1 friendly Tyrannid unit, yada yada yada. It does reduce the CP cost of that stratagem by 1. So, once per turn, you can have another Screamer Killer. Now, mind you, they're not -1 to the test, but if they're next to Death Leaper and you get to choose, you can do that because you could have Winged Hive Tyrant all the way on your home objective, and Death Leaper is in the middle of the board because of the infiltrate, and do something like that. You can. So maybe open your eyes to that one a little bit more. Now, the next thing that I kind of wanted to talk about that I can't say too much about is the update to GSC. I'm no GSC player. I have a friend that's a GSC player, so maybe he'll see this and, I don't know, call me a dumbass in the comments or whatever and put in his input. But, it's about time there's a little bit of help, but I don't know if this is enough. That's just me from the outside looking in. GSC is one of the ones that definitely confuses me because it's a lot of layers to try to get the bare minimum of things to happen. But now you have discount demons, kind of. You're this weird hybrid of demons and Imperial Guard with this kind of, I don't want to say new change because it's literally just for the army rule that this change is coming in, but you take one where the strategy is to keep coming back, and well, they took that away from the rest of us, so GSC, eat your heart out. And then you have one where you can deep strike wherever the fuck you want because of whatever shenanigans, so you got demons. And then you put that together to have GSC, but you can only do it if you roll a 5 up, but for the first and second battle round, you can add 1 to the result after you lose a unit, so that's cool. They've also clarified that right here, adding in a unit to your army identical to your destroyed unit in Cold Ambush at its starting strength with all of its wounds remaining and any one-shot weapons those models are equipped with considered as not having been shot, so you can have no arguments about demo charges, basically. Then place one Colt ambush marker anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. If that is not possible, no marker is placed. You can set up that unit on the battlefield using a Colt ambush marker as described below, or if it has the deep strike ability, in the reinforcement steps of one of your movement phases, you can set that unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy units. That's a lot better. You still have to roll the 5 up, though. And frankly, I think that needs to be a 4 up with the same +1. And if we're being honest, the +1 should be like the first, second, or third battle round. Because their units don't have a lot. I don't know. I don't know. It's good that they can deep strike again, maybe, but you still have to make the roll. So if you don't make the roll, you still just don't have an army rule. And that's not a good army rule. But it is something. Do I think that this will cause issues in the future? Undoubtedly so, because I have no faith that GW won't find a way to just add some weird string of wording that completely breaks it. Like, in the reinforcement step of one of your movement phases, you can set that unit anywhere on the battlefield that is more than 9 inches horizontally away from all enemy units. If they have the deep strike ability. So, I don't know. They're probably going. I'd say they'll probably rewrite that damn codex because it was bad. I won't say it's bad. I think I was definitely more hopeful about it than other people, but there's a lot of restrictions on a lot of things, and I don't really know why so many things are terribly restricted. Also, thinking about it, hold on, can this cook right now? I remember, who was I watching that was talking about demons? They were talking about how demons have to come back in the next turn and they can't stay away. Yeah, on one of your movement phases, you don't even have to come back the next turn. You can hold some battle line that died in round 1. You make the roll and then deep strike them on the bottom of 5, or, well, I mean, ingress them bottom. I mean, depending on who goes first, right? Deep strike them some way or another, bottom of 5, to get that easy secret mission if you're getting your ass kicked. Or does the Patriarch have? Let's see. Let's Control Shift T. Does the Patriarch have Deep Strike? I mean, okay, hold on. It doesn't even have to be the fucking Patriarch because, I mean, are you all running the Patriarch? I'm just obviously going for the Warlord part, right? Deep Strike, Deep Strike, Deep Strike. Do you have Deep Strike? So it could be your Warlord that you just hold because it's all of them. On top of that, add a new unit to your army identical to destroyed unit. It's identical to your destroyed unit. You can keep characters attached, right? I know that you can't keep a character if it's the abominant that gets back up or something like that. But if you can bring your warlord back, you can also do that for the secret mission. Oh man, there's so much play there. Hold on. Each time a unit with this ability is destroyed, It doesn't even say when it's destroyed. Using in the reinforcement steps of one of your movement phases. So, okay, never mind. I was going to say in your fight phase. But if it was the enemy's fight phase, we're going to do that in one of your movement phases. Fight phase, shooting phase. I mean, like if a Hellbrute shoots you back, like you piss off one of those Hellbrutes and it shoots World Eater's Hellbrutes, I believe. That's the one that gets to shoot back because of Angie. A World Eater Hellbrute shoots you back in your shooting phase. No. Okay, wait. You'd bring that back anyway. Because it has to be your movement phase. So I guess I take back the rapid ingress idea. I don't know, I feel like there's play there. Or fuck it. In your movement phase, you get overwatched? Hold on. Identical to your destroyed unit at its starting strength too. You have one fucking little guy get overwatched, get destroyed, you make the roll, and then by the time your movement phase is over, you can bring them back? Oh, there's some cheese here, brother. There's some cheese here. There's some cheese here. I don't know. GSC players, tell me if you can break that shit. There's no way that works. Between holding an uppy downy for a secret mission or undoing somebody's Overwatch, that's insane. This one I don't really get too much. If at the start of the battle, no model in the unit is equipped with a hand flamer, each time this unit makes a Brood Surge move, it can be moved up to 6 inches instead of up to D6. This is for the hybrid metamorphs abilities, Brood Surge, second paragraph. I guess I should probably pull that up, huh? That'd be smart. Alright, bit of a time jump here as I got a call that I had to take. And also, it turns out Wahapedia doesn't have the GSC Codex on the website. Has Sisters, does not have GSC. So I guess Wahapedia, I am not bothering with that bullshit. So I can't really look back at this one, and I don't think I should pull up somebody else's video right here to try to figure out any more about that. But hey, if you can surge a little bit better, or unless this was one of your good few broken loopholes, I'm sorry. But hey, there's that. Alright, those are the things that I kind of wanted to cover from the update today. Transports and reserve questions that kind of were self-explanatory. That's pretty much it there. But next, I wanted to go over some more meta hot takes per se. I'm not claiming, again, I'm not going to claim that any of the things that's going on in my head is just overall better than what's happening. But I have a few questions and things that should be pointed out. Looking at 40K's Meta Mondays 40K blog post? Is this blog? WordPress is a blog site, right? Just the updates on how things go down over the weekend. I saw a couple of things that are kind of interesting. First off, when are you all going to start taking Drukhari seriously? Out of the 16 players, 3 of them won. Like, that is insane. And then, the ones that, well, okay, I guess this is tied in, but out of 16 players, 7 of them had an X and O start or X and 1. That's pretty darn good. So, hey, I guess you need to take Drukhari into consideration. But the ones that I wanted to touch on, first off, Admech players, please try again. I'm tired of you all bringing Skitaria Hunter cohort. It was already the one that kind of worked. And then you go, alright, I'm just going to use the one that kind of works some more. Like, come on now. I'm not familiar with AdMech rules too tough. But I remember seeing for a bit that Cohort Cybernetica was doing pretty well. And apparently, this needed to refresh. Where'd we go? Where'd we go? Alright, there we go. Apparently, you all have a win too. Oh, that's right, I did hear about the win. And it's Skitarii Hunter Cohort. Yeah, but apparently, Cohort Cybernetica, I believe this is the one that literally just gives your bots the same rule that now everybody else has. I don't know, maybe dabble with that one. Rad Zone Core. Apparently, this one is actually pretty smackaroo. That's the index one. I know that one, but I gotta say, as somebody looking from the outside in that was briefly thinking about starting an AdMech army before I saw like how much it requires, I was like, why not this one? This just seems great. For the initial rule, but again, I don't. I just got here, so take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, try Rad Zone. Try Rad Zone a bit more. But the one that I kind of really wanted to talk about, where are we? Oh, we're not even on here, unfortunately. So, Necrons didn't do too much this weekend. I say that even though they do have a tournament win. But it's not like they were out there just in full force. And apparently that tournament win was with Awakened Dynasty. Okay, some Silver Tide action, maybe. But the thing that I want to talk about Necrons is that recently I was going through the Necron Codex and just thinking about some things. Now, again, this slides into the realm of I don't think it's better than what you're doing, but I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Kind of like where I feel about Tyrannage and Crusher Stampede. I know High Fleet Prometheus on YouTube would probably be the best person to ask about Crusher right now. I know that 6 has the Bug Watch show, and they also talked about Crusher, and it seems like one of the guys is finally coming around to it. And I believe your boy Swissley is was the first of the two on the Bug Watch to see the light of it. I think Crusher is a little bit good. I know this is kind of a side tangent, but I promise, follow me. Crusher was touted as the worst one out of all of the detachments, and I think that the Necron's worst one might not be the worst one. Whoa! Okay, it's definitely not the worst one. Okay, arguably, if you were going to say Annihilation Legion is the worst one, yeah, I don't think there's hope there. Being honest, I don't think there's any hope there. But Obeisance Phalanx, I remember glancing over and thinking that it's actually pretty decent. Okay, pretty decent is very strong. I thought it was decent. I think there's some things there, given what you're bringing nowadays, and oddly enough, something that got nerfed might be strongest here and stronger overall. So with the Obeisance Phalanx, and nobody was running that this past weekend, I noticed a common theme amongst everybody here. It might not pop out to you when just looking over what you have access to in this detachment, which isn't a lot. You have Overlords, Lich Guard, and 2 Triarch units, because for some odd reason, Emathek, the Stormlord, is not an Overlord, and somehow the fucking Silent King still isn't a Triarch, even though he is the Triarch. And honestly, I was like, maybe there's a loophole. Maybe the Menhirs that are the Triarchal Menhirs. No, unfortunately, this doesn't work like, I guess like Yu-Gi-Oh, where if it's just like in the name, you get like a free pass to use it. No, you really have to worry about keywords in this game system. So, yeah, that's not hot. But there's 2 things that I noticed with this detachment's units that might be a little bit better. First off, a lot of them have actually some decent movement tools. The Overlord with Translocation Cell definitely just lets you go through fucking walls. That's great. Lich Guard, no, not there. But then you have the Praetorians, which can Deep Strike, which I did not know they had that on their data sheet. And the Stalker has Scout. So, going to the Praetorians, now, is it a better Deep Strike unit than Deathmarks? No, it's twice the cost. But, they do have Deep Strike, and if you could Deep Strike somebody that you have +1 to wound against, and you have a fair amount of attacks, and you can re-roll the charge, it's okay. Not 120 points okay, but in theory, it's okay. You also have the Triarch Stalker, which gives you board presence because it has Scouts 8 and +1 to wound with a Melta. That's not terrible. Is it 125 good? I wish I could have sympathy, as my Carnifexes are 125. So, hey, I'll take T8 with a 4-up invuln and 12 wounds. Now, I know we have higher toughness, but we have less wounds, and I'm a Carnifex, so hey, I can only be so salty about that one. But Melta 4 on a target that you have +1 to wound against while you have Scouts 8 doesn't sound like a terrible idea. But the other thing that I noticed about this detachment is that it is focused on you getting the wounds. You have a version of Oath of Moment. Nah, you don't reroll, but you have a target. I guess it's closer to the big hunt, the great hunt, the orc one. I'm blanking on it right now. But you have the Beast Nega detachment here, where you're basically trying to bring down something every turn, and you can do that with +1 to the wound roll. And this does what you all really wanted in Canoptic Court in a different way. Canoptic Court, you really wanted Cynosia Eradication. Actually, let me just, it's right here. I can just highlight that for everybody here. Bam. Cynosia of Eradication. At first, when it applied to the unit, giving the unit devastating wounds, now it's to the models. But, guess what? In Obeisance Phalanx, you just have +1 to wound for an Overlord's unit, a Lich Guard's unit, or these Triarchs unit. +5 critical Overlord on to Plasmancer Immortals, +1 to wound. I think that's pretty decent. You're getting some wounds through. Maybe you don't want to bring a Monolith because it's not Hypercrypt. If you're going to bring a Monolith, might as well go to Hypercrypt. But you can also bring a Monolith here to give it -1 damage for a vehicle. It doesn't even say can't be Titanic, just for a vehicle. So, -1 damage on a Monolith. Sure, it doesn't have the invulnerable save, because you have to get the invulnerable save through Hypercrypt, but -1 damage on a Titanic unit like that, that's pretty okay. But that brings me to the other one. The other popular Titanic unit that's going on right now is the Tesseract Vault. People are bringing the Tesseract Vault because it's actually not terrible. I say it's actually pretty scary to me. Like, from outside looking in, my main faction is Tyranids. I've been trying to dip my toes into Necrons and Orcs as like the second one, but from the outside looking in, Tesseract Vault is pretty scary. And you'll notice, there's a lot of death wounds here. There's a lot of death wounds. What else has death wounds? The Overlords have death wounds on their weapons. Do Lichguard have... Oh, would you look at that? Lichguard also have a way to access death wounds. Let's actually just see devastating wounds. Cool. I don't even have to type that far. We got 24. So, the Deceiver. And like I said, mobility How about you just pick up your units and then you scout your Triarch after redeploying to then put some wounds onto one thing that you targeted, and then the Deceiver. You're probably not bringing the Deceiver. I know. Just act like you bring in the Deceiver for once, right? Also has Death Wounds. The Nightbringer does have Death Wounds. In fact, has Mortal Wounds. And guess who can go with a Lich Guard unit that also does wounds like that? Imhotep. Imhotep can go with Lich Guards, do Death Wounds, do Mortal Wounds. Your Overlord can go with Immortals for lethals, but because they're Immortals, they can be attached with a Plasmancer that does more Mortals. I'm not saying it's the best strategy out there. In fact, it definitely isn't. We have Hypercrypt in the era of Pariah Nexus, where you can just go do shit. But I think it's not as bad as people wanted to make it seem. Overall, I think there's some potential here. Just Death Wounds. Now, this is another one that probably should be getting the Overlord keyword, the Catacomb Command Bridge. But guess what? It's Overlord's Blade. Hey, don't know how he has it if he's not an Overlord, right? Has Death Wounds, has -1 to wound, and is a vehicle. So that means if you want, subtract 1 damage, -1 damage, -1 to wound, T8 4 up invulnerable save, 9 wounds, Dev Wounds, and the detachment that gives quite a lot to +1 to wound. And then Eternal Conqueror. This is your rerolls at home. Well, yeah, this is the difficult one because you have to be on an objective marker. You can reroll the hit, and I don't know, maybe your Overlord just so happens to have a Tachyon Arrow that's a one-shot. Strength 16, 5 AP, D6 +2. Maybe you just throw that bitch, and it hits on 2s, and you reroll 1s. You can smack something for -5 AP, upwards to 8 damage that they did not expect. Yeah. I think you could become a bit of a problem with 2 options of Dev Wounds. So, I just think that maybe whoever's doing this out here, how many players? 4 players are showing you that they can get. Okay, hold on. Sorry, take that back. Let's do the math. I was literally about to say with some cap, not gonna lie. With 4 players, one of them did a 4-0 start. But hey, that still brings it to 55% win rate on that one. Is that how their sheets work here? 20 games played. Yeah, 20 games played, and a quarter of them have. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe just open your eyes to try a Basing's Phalanx. Probably more than Canopticort. I did have a nice individual break down for me what some of the real powerhouse strengths of Canopticort were at the beginning. Because I'm not going to act like I didn't understand totally why it was good, but I don't think it was ever going to be better than Hypercrypt. I don't see why anybody thought that, kind of still. But I get it. I get it. You had these bricks that you could reactive move, and you just fucking won points and shit. So, hey, it makes sense. But Hypercrypt, you have the ability to pick up and go around. Basics, I guess I get that the game isn't based on damage, but that's some damage output that should be investigated. And if they bring Praetorians down to Deathmark levels, yeah, I think it's definitely better than, as we know, it's better than Annihilation Legion. That's a sad state to be in. So that was the other one I wanted to cover. And I want to say this Tyrannage win is the Vanguard from what was it, like weeks ago? Because it's not like right there. But also, where's Demons? I am once again here to tell you should probably be playing Demons. Don't know why I did the drop down like they have their codex out. 2 wins, 4% rep, 52% up there. I think that everybody's just kind of in disbelief of the things that are winning. So they're trying to act like the shit around it is winning. Like, this is going I was going to be petty and name a channel that's famous for competitive stuff. But just as a new player, some of the takes I've seen out of there just I don't get it because they're not even necessarily backed by data. It's just like a take. Like they seem to be really scared of Tyranids, and so far, this entire edition, that has not been the case. I don't know what they keep trying to see, but hey, I'm not going to give any more than that because it's kind of petty, but I'm just in disbelief at how there seems to be a state of disbelief regarding the current 40k meta. Like, we'll all talk about how busted T-Suns and the sisters are right now, but why is nobody talking about Drukhari? I don't want them to get nerfed. Let them have their time because they were really dog water for a good portion of this edition. But let's not act like they're just okay being at the top for as long as they are. I guess it's one of those things that is so niche that you go, huh, I mean, fine, I guess. Like, it doesn't feel unfair. Like, the shit that they're doing with Miracle Dice and Cabal rituals, that shit's unfair. To me. That, I shouldn't say unfair, I use that strongly. Hyperbole. Content creation. Woo. But, why am I getting slapped by somebody that can triple move and then dev wound flamer me? Why are you just able to make whatever you want, do whatever the fuck you want it to do? Why are you here? Like, in my face. You're just here. Why are you here in my face? 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 Like, that's how a lot of that is. But, oh goodness, watch out for those bugs that don't have access to tank shot, grenade, smoke, or have anything that's really a weapons platform, and they just finally have an anti-tank option. Oh, but watch out for them! Like, I don't get it. And I don't know what's going on with Death Guard, if I'm being honest with y'all. Every time I look at you all, it seems like you should be you're doing perfectly fine, actually. What the fuck? You have 3 wins recently. 3 wins, less players than, the scary bugs. But yet, every time you ask a Death Guard player, hey, you guys are doing pretty alright, right? No, they took everything from us. They took my wife, kids, and I'm paying for the mortgage. Like, you all seem to be very doom and gloom, but yet you're doing fine here. So I don't understand what this number is when you have this number. And why all of you seem to be acting like you're down here when you're doing okay. I don't know. That's a can of worms. I guess I don't necessarily want to kick it too bad, but you ask everybody that plays against Death Guard, they're doing okay. You ask Death Guard players, they think they're GSC right now. So hey, that's that one. But those are all of my, I guess, takes. And new perspectives, different perspectives. I guess the last hot take is Death Guard, just try harder. I don't fucking know. Oh, that's mean. But, I've really just, can a Death Guard player truly explain to me why every Death Guard player seems to act like they are in the abyss, but then turning around to do just fine? You're doing okay. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of like the Orc thing. Now, mind you, the win that happened got taken away because dude's a fucking cheater. But to that point, would Orcs be okay if you could take Gaz in a T12 battle wagon? And if Snickrot was T6? Like, would that literally just make you the best in the game? Because so far, from what I understand, that's what the cheating of Tacoma was, and you won that way, so I think you're doing better than this too. But those are all my hot takes for today. We'll probably be back when some more things get updated. And yeah, tell me all of the things because I just got here, but from an outsider or a newborn's perspective, The world is a little bit brighter than some of you make it seem with your factions, says the Tyrannid player, because you tell me 6% of us are out there, 6% of the overall pop are out there, and we only have one win, but yet this is the one that you all want to. And I guess I'll go back to that being another hot take. I've seen a Demons player, an Orcs player, and Admech Tal player just be doom and distraught over the Tyrannids. But so far, it just seems to be annoying. It seems like it just counters those. And even for the Demons, it seems like, hey, our Battleshock shenanigans might help you more than anything. So I don't know. I don't get it. And yeah, I just open your eyes, everybody. Astra Militarum's doing fine, even though everybody wants to act like they're in the hole, but yet everybody says Tau is the best shooting army, and they're right next to them. I understand stats don't mean everything, but come on, it looks like everybody's doing okay. Deathwatch, you're just Space Marines in another flavor of dark coloration. So, hey, you'll be fine. But yeah, that's all for me. If you like the video, like it. Got a comment for me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.